11 kilometers per second is known as the escape velocity. It is the amount of force or speed that one must travel in order to escape the Earth's gravity. And so the reason I use that term is because in order to soar, to become a star, to reach out into the heavens, you have to escape the forces that bear you down. The biggest of which is fear of judgment of others, and then our addiction to comfort. In this YouTube channel, what I do is I discuss the things that must be done for us to reach our potential. Hello everyone, Mac Audina here, and today is a good day for a good day. So, every day is a good day for a good day. So, I think this is going to be my new setting. First and foremost, it is nice and quiet in this room that I'm in right here in the basement. And then there, is this little quote here that I think is really good quote to have. Any case, if you don't know who I am, my name is Mac Audina, and I own 11 kilometers per second. We are a life and business coaching firm, and what we do is we help you to overcome the forces that hold you down to reaching your full potential, or as I like to say, activate your superpower. 11 kilometers per second is the escape velocity, as it is known. It is the force or the speed at which you must travel in order to escape Earth's gravitational pull. And so the gravitational pull is a metaphor for the various different things that hold you down, all of which, I was going to say most of which, all of which are within your own head. This is not to say that there aren't external factors. It is to say that the things that are, internal are much larger, and they are the ones that can be overcome once you've overcome. The external factors can be overcome once you overcome the internal factors. Anything that, if you've overcome those internal factors, you can overcome anything. So today, what I'd like to discuss is how to know if you are starting to believe that you are who you say you are. So Drake has a line that, it's real when you are who you say you are. If you don't know this already, I really like Drake. He has a lot of different little lines that I appreciate. In any case, that line right there was a good line, but it works for this because ultimately, one of the biggest things that holds us back is our belief in ourselves, our belief in us being the person who is and does the things and does and has the things that we intend to have for ourselves. We don't believe that this is true. We don't see ourselves as the CEO of a mega corporation. We don't see ourselves as, a big musician. We don't see it. It's not something that's really true. And because we don't see it, we can't, other people can't see it. How is someone supposed to believe that you are who you say you are if you yourself don't believe it, right? We don't see that. And so a lot of times, like what has happened in business or in any place, what happens is you'll have a lot of people with less talent, less work ethic even, which is big, huge, but because that person believes they are this person, they're going to go. People will respond because you're saying, here's who I am. And they're like, okay, well, in rap, everybody, comes in and says, I'm the king. Well, if you truly believe it, you're going to behave as a person who behaves like they're the king of the South, the king of whatever. And then you start to do that and everybody's like, okay, I will fall in line. So you have to truly believe it. I believe that when you truly believe it, you start to behave like that person. So that will also happen, right? A person who is a CEO, you truly believe you're a CEO, is not going to, sleep for, 12, 16 hours during the day. Like you start to if you truly believe that, you start to do those things that these people do. So I think the work also comes along with that. But you know, but there's a lot of people, for example, who are putting in the work, but they don't believe, and they don't get the same results. And so this is why is one of the biggest piece of what it is that we teach. We help you to activate that superpower. Know that, whether or not you truly believe it, this person that you are only in the future, because here's a like a I guess I don't know if it's physics or quantum physics, but like there is this belief that in science, one of the sciences, that that time, like all of time is happening all at once, but like the way that we experience its sequential order, just makes it appears like the events are happening at different times. Tried to understand that, read Stephen Hawking's book, The History of Time. Really don't truly fully understand it, but I believe in the theory. Somebody freaking did the math, and at least for now, the theory I think holds. I think we'll continue to discover things that change what we believe about the world. I think the world is magic, and that we'll never truly fully understand it. Going on a tangent, but assuming that the theory is right, that everything is happening at the same time, but we're experiencing it as if it's happening, in different order, a sequential order, you are who you're going to become here. You just don't know it yet. The timelines hasn't merged. And so what you need to do is believe that, and then be willing to do the things that will get you to meet this person somewhere in the future and become that person. And so the question for today is, how do you know when you are starting to believe it? And this is one of my tests is, and I recommend it for all of us, is if you ever feel, and this is about knowing yourself, right? If you ever feel socially uncomfortable in a place, if you think about someone who makes you feel socially uncomfortable, that is a sign that that you need to push, and you haven't started to believe in yourself in the way that you should. That means, if you're feeling socially uncomfortable, there are two ways, right? Well, maybe three. Let's start with how you may feel in certain situation. The people that you're most comfortable with, the people that know you, they know what value you bring to the table. You come to that place. It's kind of like, going into the bar at Cheers, whatever the name of that bar was. If you're of a certain age, you know what I'm talking about. Like you watch this sitcom Cheers that they used to have, and then there was this dude who was like a regular. His name was Norm, and whenever Norm came in, everybody was like, Norm, and then in the theme song, it goes like, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. So it's that kind of feeling, right? When you are in a place where you feel so comfortable, everybody knows you bring some value. There's like, you want to be in this crowd, because whenever it is that you're in this crowd, with this group of friends, like you just feel good, like you're yourself, you're behaving like your ideal self, your most confident self. And I'd say that there are 4 groups of people. So, I just described the first group, which is the one that, that knows you and you feel comfortable with. Then there is another group you might feel comfortable with as well, but this group, you don't necessarily behave like your ideal, your most confident self. You're still confident, you're so comfortable, but you don't behave like your most I'm this shit self. And this group of people is probably the group where you have seeded, like, that they are, somehow better than you. Like you just decided that they are somehow better than you. Now, this is not what is going on in your head. So if you're looking for you in your head saying they are better than me, you'll never find it, which is why you have to examine really closely and deeply. What's probably going on in your head is you are like, well, I am not going to behave in a certain way with them. Like, I'm not, when I come to speak to these guys, they speak in a certain way. I'm going to speak in that way. They dressed in a certain way, I'm gonna dress in that way. I'm not gonna be too loud in the way that I present myself, whether it's in speech or in, appearance. I'm not going to be too loud. I'm just going to, play this part because this is their norm. This is how they behave. This is how whatever. You'll notice that, the Kanye West and the people who are truly always themselves, there is no, I'm going to a section and like tone it down. And obviously we're not just talking about being an asshole and not knowing, decorum, meaning not knowing how to behave and have manners and all that good stuff. We're talking about being your true version, not tampering it down, not saying, okay, here's how these people act and all this stuff, feeling, not necessarily feeling uncomfortable because it's like, listen, I'm not as good as you guys, but I'm like here to learn is a good way. That I'm here to learn. And this is, again, I don't want to confuse things. You should be everywhere ready to learn and listen. But the difference is that you're not also putting in what you bring to the table, not putting in what you bring to the table because you feel less than, you feel that you are, not as good as these individuals. And so now all you have to offer is basically nothing, just taking in. Whether or not you're in a group of people that you completely feel comfortable with, or you're in a group of people that you are now feeling like you're less than in a way, you still have to be ready and willing to learn in every different place. You should make that a thing. That's not what we're talking about today. In any case, that's the second group. And the second and the third group share a thing in common that is different than the first group. And the second and the third group share that the reason you behave in a certain way is because you either feel like you have an advantage or you don't. So in the second group, you're feeling comfortable, but you don't feel like you have an advantage, and you've accepted that you don't have an advantage, you're okay with it, and so you're just behaving as somebody who's just here to soak the knowledge as opposed to being your true and ideal self. In the third group, you feel comfortable as well, but you feel comfortable because you feel like there is some sort of advantage that you have in some freaking area that, they value. Maybe you feel like you're the smartest there, or you feel like you're the person with the best dress, or whatever the case may be. You feel like there's something there that you bring to this table that makes you desired in that group, and so you can come in and behave like that person. But then you ever find yourself not having that, whatever it is that you feel advantaged by, maybe somebody else comes into a group and they're smarter than you, or they're more best dressed, your confidence may completely be shot because you're coming in saying that you have the advantage. In groups 2 and 3, this idea of advantage, no advantage, is that it's really about validation. And it's not truly about you knowing and coming to believe that you are who you say you are. And that if there is something that you don't know, you don't really care to know, you don't care to know it. Or if there's something that you don't know, but you know that this is part of who the person you're honing and becoming, then you're soaking that information in. And that's where it is like you're not here to compete about, oh, validate me, show that I'm of value, because you already know that you're of value. And so that's why it doesn't ebb and flow or you haven't just accepted, your lowered position. So in both of these instances, it's a false belief in who you are. It's not a true belief in who you are. It's a validate me. It's I'm here, I'm feeling comfortable because you're telling me that I'm great, or I'm here, I'm feeling comfortable because I've accepted that, I'm not going to put in any effort towards trying to be this great person, because once I don't put any effort, there's no chance of failing. So it's a risk free. And that's what's happening in the group 2. Group 2. And so then there is the fourth group. The fourth group is the group where you feel uncomfortable. right? And in that group, it's kind of like what I said, that advantage is taken away from you. You're coming in and feeling like you don't have that advantage, but at the same time, you haven't conceded. You still think there's a possibility that you can figure out how to, you know, get an advantage, show an advantage. This is where you feel threatened by people in the group. This is where you feel intimidated by people in the group. And so, you know, this is where what you definitely also need to track. So groups 2 through 3 need to understand it and start calibrating. And one of the ways that you do that first is by recognizing, okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable, and then being like, which group is that? Am I feeling threatened by something? Am I not feeling like I am who I say I am, who I know I am? How do I behave then in the way when I am comfortable? Look back to how you are in that first group where you're comfortable. Look back to when it is, for example, that you have been inebriated. Like a lot of times, being drunk or high, depending on what that makes you feel like, your inhibitions are lowered, and so you start to behave like your ideal self. Like look at that. Look, like you should understand exactly how it is that you act in that when you are in that state. You should see how, for example, if someone when you're in that state and someone responds to you in a way that is not what you would feel like, because you're feeling so comfortable, you don't take that so seriously. Like you are able to respond, because in times when you're feeling threatened and intimidated and somebody says something, instead of you like being like, oh, that doesn't matter, you start to get within your own head and start to let that spiral and control exactly how it is that you feel. And so very important that you're looking back and seeing, how do I behave, because that's going to help you to say to not behave in that way, or to behave in that way when it is that you're not feeling in that, because you're going to be like, okay, I've got to be my true self. And another thing that is good is to breathe in, and breathe out, like you're meditating, like you're doing breathing, um, diaphragmatic breathing. And this is something that I've heard said before. I think it's Tom Billieu who had said that. I mean, many people talk about how breathing can help you, get around certain types of feelings of discomfort. And it was never something that I really understood, and it didn't seem like it was applicable. But there was one time when I was doing recently, actually, not too long ago, I was doing like a scuba diving, and I had the thing on, the goggles and the mouthpiece, and I jumped in the water, and it felt like it wasn't really tight, and it was like, felt like there's water still coming in, and I'm like, I'm nervous, I don't want to do it. And so I had to basically, like, breathe in, like, because the feeling of discomfort was just coming in at me, and I was like, I had to breathe slowly and be like, and come to slowly accept it. So it's not something that once you